I barely had time to scream before everything went black. The next thing I knew, I was floating above my body. I could see myself slumped over at my desk, coworkers rushing around me, someone shouting for help. But I wasn't afraid, not at first. It was surreal, like watching a movie unfold. Then a strange sensation pulled me upward, faster and faster, until the world below became a blur. The air around me changed. It wasn't cold exactly, but it carried a different energy, something I can't explain. Time lost all meaning. I wasn't breathing, yet I could still think clearly. And then everything shifted. I wasn't just floating anymore. I was somewhere else. Not here. Not anywhere I recognized. It was like stepping into another dimension, one that felt both familiar and completely foreign. I wasn't alone either. There was a presence around me, something vast and powerful, though I couldn't see it yet. That's when the fear hit me. I had always believed in heaven and hell, but standing on the threshold of eternity, I realized I had never truly grasped what that meant. And suddenly, I was terrified of where I might end up. As I drifted further into this new place, the air around me shimmered like heat rising off pavement. But it wasn't hot. It was alive, pulsing with something beyond physical sensation. Sounds were different here. There was no wind, no rustling leaves, no hum of traffic. Instead, there was a deep, resonant silence that wasn't empty but full, like the hush before something enormous happens. I felt weightless, untethered from my body, yet more aware than I had ever been. Then ahead of me, a light began to appear, not blinding, not harsh, but warm and inviting. It wasn't just brightness. It had depth, like layers of color folding into each other, shifting and glowing with a kind of peace I had never known. As I moved toward it, I felt drawn in, not by force, but by something inside me that recognized it as home. And then, suddenly, I wasn't alone. Figures surrounded me. Not like people, not exactly, but beings of light and presence, neither male nor female, but filled with purpose. They weren't speaking, yet I understood them perfectly. It wasn't words. They communicated directly with my spirit, showing me things without saying a single sentence. And in that moment, I knew I was standing on the edge of eternity. But there was something else too, a shadow behind me, a darkness that felt heavy and suffocating. It wasn't chasing me, but it was there waiting. And for the first time, I understood that this place wasn't just one destination. There were two paths. One led toward the light, the other toward that looming darkness. And I realized, with terrifying clarity, that where I ended up depended entirely on choices I had already made. As I stood between the light and the darkness, a presence unlike anything I had ever known surrounded me. It wasn't a voice in the way we hear sound, but a knowing, an awareness that settled deep in my soul. In that moment, I saw my entire life flash before me, not in random images, but in a way that stripped away every excuse, every justification I had ever made. Every decision, every word, every hidden thought, it was all laid bare. I saw the times I had chosen comfort over obedience, when I ignored the quiet nudges of my conscience because they were inconvenient. I saw the moments I treated people with indifference when I could have shown love. I saw the ways I had placed my trust in things that would never last, my career, my reputation, my own strength. And worst of all, I saw how I had allowed my relationship with God to grow distant, treating him like a backup plan instead of the center of my life. A deep sorrow welled up inside me, heavier than anything I had ever felt. Not because I was being judged harshly, but because I finally saw myself for who I truly was, someone who had been given grace upon grace and had taken it for granted. And yet, even in that moment of shame, there was mercy. I felt it wrap around me like a warm embrace, gentle but firm, reminding me that I was not beyond hope. Then a truth settled over me like a blanket. This was not just about my past, but about my future. I had been given a choice, and I still had time to make it. In that moment, I felt a pull, gentle yet undeniable, as if unseen hands were guiding me forward. The presence surrounding me wasn't angry or condemning. It was filled with wisdom, compassion, and something deeper than love, something holy. And then, without words, I understood. I had been given a chance to return. This wasn't my time. I was supposed to go back, to finish what I had left undone. But along with that revelation came a warning. The darkness behind me wasn't just a distant threat. It was real, and it was waiting. I could feel its hunger, its longing to claim souls who had turned away, who had convinced themselves they had plenty of time. And I realized, with a jolt of fear, that many people I loved were walking dangerously close to that edge without even realizing it. Then I heard something, not with my ears, but deep within my spirit. It wasn't a command, but a question, echoing through my very being. Will you change? It wasn't just asking if I wanted to live differently. It was asking if I was willing to surrender, to give up control, to let go of my excuses, to truly follow the path I had only halfway walked before. Tears welled up in my eyes, not from sadness, but from a profound sense of clarity. I had spent years trying to balance faith with my own plans, thinking I could serve God on my terms. But standing in that place, I understood that eternity was not something to negotiate with. It was a reality, and I had been given a second chance to prepare for it. So with every ounce of conviction I had, I answered yes. The moment I said yes, the world around me shifted. The light grew brighter, warmer, wrapping around me like a protective embrace. Then, with a sudden jolt, I was falling, plummeting downward, faster than I thought possible. The air thickened, the silence shattered, and in an instant I was back.